how about a round of applause for making of this film? So the gentleman in the center is Peter Halby, one of the founders of Xeno on the Farm. And perhaps you'd like to, folks want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, hi, I'm Hannah Gallivan. I was an actress in Bessemer River.
My name is Peter Halby. I'm executive producer of this movie and then founder and director of Xeno Mountain Farm in Vermont.
My name is Ian. I'm a character from MNFF. I'm from player and choreography.
I think at some point we'd like you to talk a little bit more about Xeno Mountain Farm, but maybe while the energy is right here, we'll talk about the film itself. I just want to ask you a question. Maybe this is what's on people's mind. It's hard work to make a film, but the joy in the film is so palpable. You want to talk a little bit about that, the sort of combination of the logistics of really doing this film as a musical and all it took, but also the spirit behind it as you went through it.
Sure, I would say that segues into what Xeno is, but because there's a lot of joy in Xeno. For those of you who don't know, Xeno Mountain Farm is based in Lincoln, Vermont. We run camps and retreats for folks with all different disabilities and other marginalized communities. And fun and adventure and creativity is a big part of what we are and what we do. We've been making movies for years, and it was always, musicals are big in our life, right, Ian? Yeah. And it was always a dream to make a big feature-length musical. So, yeah, it all came together.
Yeah,
Here we are.
That's great. Well, I know that you premiered. Did you premiere the film at South by Southwest this year?
We did. It's been an interesting year.
Yes.
The movie was to premiere at 2020 South by,
Yes.
which was the first festival that went. It's like the pandemic started. It was
Yes.
March of 2020.
Yes.
And then they bumped us to 21, and it still was virtual. So but then we did actually premiere in 21 this past March. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're happy to have like your hometown festival.
I
We're
feel
really
like this is
happy to
our
have
first audience screening. This is
Oh,
actually
is that right?
felt really good.
Well, let's give it a sound. So about the process, and all, of course, really stellar acting throughout, nice script to work with. What about making a musical? It's something that's, you're saying, kind of comes naturally. People want to sort of, the musical expression is sort of part and parcel of what you do.
Yeah, I mean, for Xeno, like Peter was saying, like musicals are a huge thing at Xeno. We do a play every summer at our summer camp for the last 2 weeks. It's really, really fun. And it's usually an original musical that we do. I've been to a lot of years with Xeno, and I've been to a lot of movie theaters with Xeno, and a lot of movie theater experiences with Xeno are like people sitting in a theater and like it's totally okay to cheer or like be like, oh no, don't do that. And I remember one time we went to see Mamma Mia 2 in the theater, and everybody already knew all the songs, so there was a whole group of us just like singing our hearts out in the theater, and there was probably people in the background being like, what the heck is going on? But to that end, like musicals are so fun, and I think for Xeno, like they're such a big part of like what we do and who we are, and so it was just, I think I can't really speak for the directors, but I think like a musical was one of the ways to go when we talked about doing this.
So musicals have a high element of choreography. So Ian, would you want to talk to that?
You want to talk about choreography?
Yes, please.
So, choreography is dance and dancer. It's awesome because people is awesome dancer today. Casino is my favorite camp where I work because I work hard so hard to do. Because people love it. So, yeah.
I'll just note quickly about choreography that the town we shot in, or the scene we shot in Bristol, we got the town to shut down Main Street Bristol. Was anybody background dancer for that? No. Okay. I'm sure maybe you recognize people, but it was like we did a call out to the town and we got like 100 people to come, and we danced in the streets of Bristol till 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
And like you could only do that in Bristol, Vermont, or like Vermont. Like you try to do that in LA, it would cost like $100,000,
Well,
and you wouldn't be able to do it.
Well, they did it in La La Land and closed the freeway.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was
that was
fairly
$1 million
expensive.
shot there.
Yeah. That's very nice. Yeah, I recognize Bristol. It's very nice. Close the streets.
There you
have
go.
a good time.
Yeah.
What about writing a script? What all those parts, and how are they sort of divided amongst people, and then the casting, the auditions, all that stuff? How did that work?
Well, a big focus of this movie was to make it the most inclusive of the disability world in a film. We've yet to find a film that has this much disability inclusion, and sort of in every aspect of the movie, from the writers to the directors to the music team to obviously the actors. There was disabled talent in every part of it, and we tapped into our own community, which is obviously a lot of people with disabilities, but then reached out to the broader Hollywood network and brought in, like Shannon is a professional actress, the lead.
Yes.
And one of the moms is a professional actor. And you know, it's just important to us to bring in sort of the talent that already exists in the disability world. But you know, here's the dirty secret in Hollywood is that 1 to 2% of spoken roles are featured someone with a disability, but yet disability represents, I think it's like 22% of the population. So it's just, you know, there's so much talk about authentic representation and how important that is.
Right.
But clearly Hollywood's missing this, which we would argue this movie shows like this valuable resource. Like disability is this untapped network of like creativity and fun and beauty and humor and talent. You know, so here we go.
Yeah, I think you achieve that. This is a beacon kind of film. It does sort of point the way. If you want to do more, you can do more. Here's proof.
Oh, yeah.
I think congratulations on that. It's really good. Who wants to ask questions, please? Questions? Is it because you're too tired? Well, there we go. And please articulate from there.
So, amazing job. And has it been shown to communities or audiences of people with disabilities? Because if you are a person with disability and you see a film where more people have disabilities than don't, it's got to be pretty empowering.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I mean, like, we showed it to a bunch of Xeno people over the pandemic. We had a Zoom release party, and a bunch of people showed up on Zoom. We did a huge screening, and, like, in 8th grade, I did a whole project on disability in the media, and, like Peter was saying, like, a lot of roles that have, like, disabled characters aren't actually authentically portrayed. And, like, when you grow up in a society where there's not a lot of, like, authentic representation, it's kind of, like, really invalidating every time you see it, because you're like, this doesn't reflect everybody in this community. For me and all of the other disabled people out there who've seen it and are gonna see it, I think it really is pretty empowering, because I've never seen a film with this much inclusion and joy and beauty, and I think it's really, really special that we got to do this and I got to be a part of it.
I mean, so often when disability is portrayed in a movie, it's always about the disability and how did you become disabled and how it's a tragedy, or there's you know, there's sort of these classic Hollywood tropes, but we made a real point of not even talking about disability. It was just, it's part of the, you know, breadth of humanity, if you will, and that was important to not make it a singular thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think this was just, the film was just, let's do it. And, you know, we'll cast the film and everybody will, you know, do their part and you know, create best summer ever. I think it was just brilliant in that way. You know, it was not sort of hyper-focused on one thing. Just do the story. Who else has a question? Okay, go ahead. Is that Joan? Go ahead, Joan.
So what was the biggest barrier that you had to overcome when you were making the film?
It's interesting that it's not disability, right? Like that, maybe some people would think that, you know, for us, making a movie in Vermont was incredibly beautiful and had all these opportunities like the downtown Bristol, but yet, like, where do you find lights? The Wi-Fi is bad, it rains, you know, like these things we deal with as Vermonters, like, people don't do it here. So it had all these benefits and all these challenges for sure. You know, and it's just, movie making is a miracle. Like, you know, things have to fall in place, and sure enough, like, you do find the lights, and you do find the food. But there are, every day it was like, oh, this isn't gonna work. This was a bad idea. But it happens.
Yeah, I remember a bunch of LA people being in Vermont, and then in the past we've done like 30-minute short films that have all been filmed in LA, so they had never done anything in Vermont, and I was like, yes, I get to be a part of this, and it was so cool. But like, all the LA people were like, oh my god, like, how do you even have service here? Like, I don't know what you do, and it's like, you know, this is Vermont, so there was definitely like Vermont aspects of it, but I think, like, and for the town as a whole too, like, nothing like this had ever happened in the house. We had a bunch of people being like, oh my god, like, I'm an extra in this movie, and I talked to friends that have gone to the school that we filmed in, which is actually my school, and they can be like, oh, that was me, and I think that's really special. But yeah, it was definitely, there was definitely like Vermont aspects of it, so.
It's like closing the street in Bristol. Right. Who else has a question? Way in the back.
Was the music written by someone local or someone that does either
You heard the question, can you repeat it for the group?
Yeah, question about the music. Same sort of aspect that we had people with disabilities involved with the writing and performing. It was myself and the mean girl Beth were the primary songwriters. She's a really nice person.
You're a musician and a guitar player, are you not?
I am,
Yeah, okay. So this must have been fun to undertake writing the music.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, who else? Question? Yes, coming down.
I'd like to know what the next project is.
Oh, that's the big one. We're sort of rotting, like, this just came out, so we're kind of rotting this one, you know, we'll continue to make movies, but the next idea has not happened. But it typically, with our other movies, we premiered them, and then like we sort of gain this momentum, and then someone's like, let's do a feature-length musical, and we're like, okay. So we're waiting for that to happen, I think.
Well, it's certainly legitimate to you know, breathe this one and let it grow. And
Yeah, I mean, it's such a strange time, but yeah.
you gonna say something?
I think there's, it's like, obviously this coming out like during the pandemic was such an unexpected thing, and like I was supposed to like go to Austin for the premiere, and like I was supposed to do that, didn't get to do it, but it was still great. But especially in the pandemic when things are so hard and like uncertain, and people had all these doubts, it was probably really nice to see like a film so full of joy and diversity and all of these things. And it still is one of the best things I've ever done, and I'm so lucky that I get to be a part of this, and like, I hope we do 1 million more of them.
Ian is perhaps our biggest movie buff. What's our next film?
Well, I think the next film coming out again on love story about me and my friend.
Just so I'm clear, we're doing a love story with you and who?
My wife.
You and who's your wife?
My friend Lulu.
Okay, so the mean girl Beth is going to be your wife in the next movie.
Yes.
Okay, there it is. We got it.
That's good planning. Okay, I have time for one more question. Yes? Anybody else? Way in the back. Yeah, go ahead.
Was the entire film filmed in Vermont?
It was, yes. We pretended that Bristol was Pennsylvania. But yeah, all the camp stuff was shot at our camp in Lincoln, Zeno, and then downtown Bristol at Mount Abe High School. And
The reason I asked
Yeah.
that was in the main street of Bristol, all the cars had Pennsylvania licenses.
well, that's movie magic right there. I know. That's good.
Okay. If we're going to do a little more, let's go. I think, Elisa, do you want to ask a question?
I had a comment.
Please.
So often, people with disabilities are completely segregated. So you'll get a show about people with disabilities, or you'll get a Little League team that's just people with disabilities. And one of the things I really appreciated in this film was that it was totally integrated without anybody blinking.
Right.
And that was really, I don't think I've ever seen something like that.
Oh, thank you. That's great.
I have a little film group where I live, and I'm going to make sure to show this. I'm thrilled that it's on Hulu.
Great. Yeah. Well, thanks for. I mean, that's what we do at Zeno's. It's a mixed bag. No one pays or gets paid. Everyone comes for the same reason, because they love it. Friendship and creativity. So that was important to show in the movie as well.
Let's finish with Faith. Go
Just
ahead.
in conclusion, I think it would be really interesting for the audience to learn a little bit more about Zeno. It isn't all movies, but I think it would be very informative.
Yeah, so we started we're on our 12th year now, and it started out as just bringing folks with disabilities, people with and without disabilities coming together to do creative projects, and it's anything from movie making. We go skiing at Sugarbush. We do a fall retreat where we just like make apple pies. We just sort of create creative, fun things that bring people together, and then over the years we've expanded to other marginalized communities like the veteran population and people with chronic illness, people with cancer. We're doing a sober retreat this winter, but just to find communities where people maybe have lack of opportunity of coming together, and bring them up to Vermont and build community.
What a round of applause for this just fantastic. I hope the expression "coming soon to a theater near you" actually comes true for you guys, okay?
Yes, the Ian and Beth love story. No,
the sequel. Anyway, so we're going to wrap this up for tonight, but for people who want to stay up and just sort of party a little more, we do have across the street at the Sheldon Museum under the tent, we have music, and that's going to run from 9:30 to 11. It's a really nice hot summer night, so come over for a beverage or they're serving pizza tonight if you'd like to go over there.
Hello.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll be running from 9:30 to 11, and we'll do it all over again tomorrow. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you all so much.